Hey everybody, welcome back. Alright, so today we're going to be continuing something that I meant to get back to. I started it last year, but I'm going to be talking about 10 more items that I personally am stocking up on just to be sure that we're prepped up. Okay? And so this is going to be numbers 31 through 40. So I'm going to finish up this series here real fast. I mean, we're going to be running these videos for a little bit. Not like day after day after day, but I'm going to be putting these one up more so we can finish that list of 100 items that I personally and why I am stocking up on them. So now 31, we're stocking up on our blankets. Now you can stock up on blankets like this climate blanket. This is like a camp blanket. It's like a polyester nylon with down in it. You can stock up on wool blankets like this. Now personally, I would recommend using wool blankets over the camp blankets, but any blanket's going to be a good idea. Now, this is especially important if you do live in a colder climate, because one of the real possibilities that could lead to a survival situation is a power outage. You might not have heat, right? And you know, that's just a real life situation. And so you might need blankets to keep you and your family warm. And so stocking up on blankets, you know, is very important. I mean, I guess there's a point where you could have too many blankets, but I think that you should have a good stock of blankets because over time they might wear out as well. So now wool blankets, the reason that I prefer wool over the other is because even if they get wet, they're still going to keep you warm. When I was in the military, we would use wool blankets. Like during basic training, you used wool blankets, and we had one wool blanket to keep us warm. So, because you'd had one that you used to make up your bed, then you had another that you would fold up and put at the end of your bed. And you would never unmake your bed, because as soon as you unmake your bed, you got to go back and you got to get those hospital corners back, you know, and looking like, you know, tip top. Ideally, you'd make your rack so tight that you laid on it, and then when you got up, you would just smooth it out, and it would still pass inspection. So you'd have that additional wool blanket. That's the one you'd have to fold every day. And that one wool blanket would keep you warm even in the coldest of nights. So, number 31, blankets. Okay? Number 32, this is something else that I highly recommend you stock up on, and that's duct tape. Duct tape, Gorilla Tape. But you want some good quality duct tape. Now, duct tape has a lot of characteristics that you might not think about. Yeah, you can use to tape things up, but you can use this. Let's say that, and we'll actually talk about something later on in this list that you can use in conjunction with this. And then I'm going to refer back to the duct tape when we're talking about that. But you can use this to make repairs. So you have a tarp, you can use it to tape up the tarp. You tape it on both sides, the tear, and then the tear is not going to expand, and it's going to be weather resistant because duct tape is highly water resistant, so it's not like it's going to soak up and just fall off. If you take it and you really fray those edges out, this is highly flammable too, so you can use this as a fire starter on top of other items. So that's why a lot of times if you see when people make the survival lighters, they'll wrap it with duct tape because duct tape can be used as a fire starter. So I would recommend having, at least a dozen rolls of duct tape on hand, at all times. And if you use one, replace it. But I highly recommend. I'm stocking up on duct tape because this has a million uses. Some you might not even think about. Worst case, I've even used this to seal up wounds before. I've had a bad cut, didn't have a Band-Aid. I just slapped some duct tape on it because it's going to hold everything together. So, not the most sanitary things, but hey, I'm not bleeding anymore. All right, so duct tape, good item to stock up on. All right, number 3, mason jars. Now, mason jars have a lot of uses. Well, obviously they got one use: store stuff in it, right? But even if you're not canning, these things are great to store stuff in. However, if you do have a pressure canner, you can make long-term food storage using these jars. However, in that, you're also going to need number 34 on our list, extra rings and lids. Because once you use this lid, once you pop it, you're not going to be able to effectively reseal something safely. You can still use that lid on another jar, like let's say that you're going to store dried beans or you're going to store rice. You can do that and it'll still be safe. But once you've used these rings to pressure cook something, you're going to need to replace the ring. So I recommend, you stock up on your mason jars. The jars can be reused as many times as you need to until they get cracked or something. But until they're damaged, you can reuse jars. You just sanitize them, make sure they're all clean. But the lids, not so much. So I would recommend for every mason jar you want to stock up on, let's say if you stock up on, you get a 12 pack of mason jars, you should get 12 packages of extra rings and lids. At least the lids. The rings, you can reuse the rings, because the rings come off. And in fact, after you can, you should, well, we'll talk about that in the canning video. But yeah, mason jars, rings, and lids, a good item to stock up on, even if you're not doing pressure canning, because this can still be used to store food. Okay, now number 35, coffee filters. Coffee filters of all shapes and sizes. These things are cheap for what you pay, and you can obviously, obviously, you make coffee with it, but what do you do when you make coffee? You're filtering water through it. So coffee filters, and they're also flammable, but the biggest use for storing up on coffee filters is you can pre-filter water, which will clean it. It won't purify it, but it'll clean it. So that means you can filter your water. So if you have to go outside and find a puddle, a lake, a pond, or something, and you want to bring it back into the house, you can filter it through a coffee filter to clean all of like the bugs and the crap, the dirt, the weeds. You can filter through all that so you have cleaner water. And then you want to go ahead and purify it, either with chemical, like with your Aquatabs, or by boiling it. But you definitely want to have, but these things, this is going to be the cheapest water filter you're going to get, because, like you can get 100 of these for a few bucks. So these things are great. And also in a worst case scenario, you use them for toilet paper. I'm just saying. There's a couple uses for water, for coffee filters, but definitely stock up on. And I would stock up on both types. These are the cone ones, the conical ones. These ones are fantastic because let's say, you have to go out, you get some water. You use a mason jar. You put the coffee filter in the top of the mason jar. You open it up, and you go from jar to jar, and you can filter your water into your mason jar. So the cone filters are great for filtering water because, but just by their shape alone, they make like that funnel type aspect. So coffee filters, stock up, and you don't have to stock up on. I mean, you can stock up. You can probably get several thousand coffee filters for like $20. I mean, they're not that expensive, especially if you shop around. Okay, another item that I highly recommend you stock up on, and I don't have any of them on me like right now, but are sharpening stones. Because one of your most important tools you're going to need in any type of situation is going to be a cutting tool. Whether you have to cut wood, whether you have to cut food. Cutting tools, knives, axes, they're going to be very important. So you need to have plenty of sharpening stones. Sharpening stones break. They get lost. They wear out over time. So you want to make sure that you have plenty of sharpening stones. Along with sharpening stones, as kind of like a bonus item, it still rolls up into number 36. But you're going to want to make sure that you have oil, like mineral oil. If you have an oil-based stone, you want to make sure you have mineral oil. If it's just a plain or wet stone, you need to have water for it. Don't run them dry, but if you do have a stone that uses mineral oil, which is a lot of your higher end stones use mineral oil, make sure that you have mineral oil available. Make sure that you have everything you need with that sharpening stone to make it effective, because keeping a sharp cutting tool is extremely important. Okay, number 37. And this one kind of goes along with your mason jars, but you want to make sure that you have a good supply of Ziploc bags and or vacuum seal. If you have a vacuum sealer, make sure that you have a huge supply of vacuum seal bags. That's something that I'm stocking up on, because when you have that vacuum sealer, once you get your foods dehydrated or frozen, you put them in that vacuum seal bag, you seal it up, you remove all the oxygen. Now, if you remove all of the oxygen out of a frozen food, you're going to extend the lifespan, because it's the oxygen in that bag that forms those ice crystals that result in freezer burning. So if you remove the oxygen, that's why vacuum sealed food lasts so much longer. So if you need to have those vacuum sealed bags with a vacuum sealer. However, if not, at least stock up on Ziploc bags, because it will make storing of food so much simpler. And when you are in a survival situation, you need to make sure that you can store your food any way possible. So Ziploc bags, mason jars, even used, I don't have it in the closet, even used 2 liter or 3 liter soda bottles. Clean those out real good. You can't really sanitize them as well as glass, but you can get them cleaned. All right, number 38, and I'll talk about this later on, but this is something that we're going to refer back to the duct tape for. They work hand in hand, and that is your construction grade garbage bags. They're like 42 mil. They're very thick. So now let's say that you are in a bad situation. Your window gets broken. Well, you know what? You can use a construction grade garbage bag with duct tape to seal that hole, probably from both sides if it's dry outside. But you can use a vacuum grade garbage bag to seal that up. If you're in a bad situation, you can use it to make a makeshift shelter. You can fill it with like leaves and stuff to make a bed. Construction grade garbage bags are a very useful item. I'm stocking up on them. You should be too. I'm just saying. All right, number 39, and now we're coming to the end of our list, but number 39 is aluminum foil. The thicker, the better. Aluminum foil, you can use that to cook things. Let's say that you have to cook something over an open fire or in coals, if you will. You can wrap it up. Say you have catch a fish. Well, you can clean it up. You put it inside that aluminum foil. You wrap it up real tight. You can just set it on those coals, and it will cook inside that foil. And then when you're done, you open up that foil and you have a plate. You can eat right off of that foil, right? And so it's just a good item to have. You can cook with it. You can store food with it. Let's say that you don't have any Ziploc bags. You don't have any vacuum seal bags. Well, you manage to get some food. All right, you wrap it up in foil. You can still put that in the freezer. It'll protect it a little bit, not as much as a vacuum seal bag, but aluminum foil is a very good item to keep. You can also use it to make solar ovens. There's a lot of things you can do with aluminum foil. It's a very useful item. So you should stock up on the very thick stuff though. You want to get the thicker your aluminum foil, the better. All right, and then last on this list, number 40 is extra socks and underwear. Cannot stress this enough. Make sure that you have an ample supply of socks and underwear. If you can have wool socks, that's even better because, again, it'll help your feet, it'll help your feet keep your feet warmer than just cotton ones if you're in a cold scenario. Now, if you're in the summertime, cotton might be better because it's less air through. But you want to make sure that you have stocked up on socks and underwear because in a survival situation, hygiene is still important. You want to make sure that you have good hygiene going on. You don't want to get funky down below, because that can lead to sicknesses. And being in the Army, being in the 2nd Infantry Division, I know we worked on our feet a lot. We walked a lot. We hiked a lot. If you're in a survival situation, at some point in time, there might not be any gas. If there's a bad one, say it's an EMP, your car's not going to work anyway. You're going to be on feet. And if you're traveling by foot using your LPCs, that's leather personnel carriers, you know what? You're going to have good socks because you're going to want to change those socks frequently. So socks, underwear. So just a roundup. For this list, we have blankets, wool preferred, but blankets, duct tape, mason jars, extra lids and rings for those jars, coffee filters, sharpening stones, and possibly mineral oil if you have one of those stones that needs mineral oil, Ziploc bags, vacuum seal bags, something to store food in, construction grade garbage bags, aluminum foil, the thicker the better, and of course socks and underwear. Take care of your feet, take care of your hot areas because hygiene is so important. And hey, if this is your first time on the channel, do me a favor, please hit that subscribe button. After you've done it, hit that like button, hit that bell button so you get notified when I put out new videos. Leave me a comment, share this video out. Until next time, keep prepping.